Now it's recording.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the committee meeting of the Ellwood City School Board for October 5th, 2015 to order. First thing we'll do is go to Mr. Mancini.
Mr. Cortez, I'd like to first refer the principals for their monthly reports, so I'll ask Mr. Lake to start.
Biggest thing we did this past month at the high school was, if you notice, walk through the halls, we have our alert emergency system buttons. Mr. Mancini, through a grant last year, was able to obtain those, and we went through a drill 2 weeks ago on Thursday, and the kids were given some descriptions about what to do if that emergency was hit, what the purpose is, and most importantly, the police were notified after the emergency button was hit. They responded on site in a timely manner. We're very happy and very pleased with how that worked out. But that goes through Vector Security and then through Lawrence County Emergency Management, and once again to the Ellwood City Police Department. That was a big thing that we did. It's something new. Not a lot of schools have those as far as safety and security. I was very satisfied with how we handled the drill. So at the high school, that was our biggest thing over the last month that we took care of.
Thank you.
We took care of a lot of safety, housekeeping as well. We had a fire drill, we did a lockdown drill, we did an evacuation drill, we also did bus evacuations. So we did one of those a week for the first 4 weeks of school, just so we could begin to have it in case something went south, that we would know what to do. The math and reading tutors started at both Perry and Hartman to help our kids who are struggling a little bit, and that's a big support for us. Our kids are really in good hands with these ladies. They do a really nice job. Fourth grade is going to the Lawrence County Fairgrounds on Wednesday for the Ag Encounter, something we do every year. The kids seem to like that. This week, on Friday, we have the career fair. We have a bunch of community members coming in to talk to the kids. In the morning, it'll be at Hartman. In the afternoon, it'll be at Perry. And we got real live parents from Ellwood City coming in and talking to our kids about what they do and how they handle themselves and what their career is. Also in the Wolverine Workshop, we have a bunch of students who are becoming real familiar with the software. They are finalizing some 3D designs, and they are getting ready to start printing those designs. Mr. Setzenfan is very excited about that. They've also integrated some of the fourth grade science stuff, and they have a seed design challenge, and it's integrating very nicely, probably even better than I thought it could have. We even have a PTO mom who's helping out. She's volunteering, and she's going to help orchestrate a drive where we're going to collect old electronics, basically old electronic toys, and Mr. Setzenfan is going to lead a take-apart day, and we're going to take stuff apart, and we're going to put it back together, and we're going to make sort of hybrid machines out of them, and the kids are really into it, and it's going really well.
Thank you. Leslie?
Yeah. With regard to special education, we are not necessarily special education, but with Act 71, we're doing a lot of training with staff and community members with regard to suicide awareness, intervention, prevention. Matt Nord, Terry Bliss from Human Service Center, and myself conducted a training down at the Tree of Life. Also conducted training with all of our teachers, Miss Wish and I, and also conducted the autism training for district staff. So doing a lot of training on autism awareness and suicide awareness within the district. Special education teachers are also going through Indicator 13 training, which is those students who have IEPs, transitioning them from high school to post-secondary education, the workforce, as well as independent learning skills. So lots of training going on.
Thank you.
At Northside, I'd like to say thank you to the 42 parents and teachers that attended our first PTO meeting. 42 folks at Northside. It was a great meeting, so thanks to all the volunteers and parents that support our schools. Our Dibbles Next and Ames web testing is completed, and now we will use that information to help drive instruction in the classroom. We're gonna be putting kids in groups. Some of the kids will be getting very rigorous enrichment, while others will be doing some interventions with, so that's coming in the very near future. We're on our 4th week in our new reading series. The first 3 weeks is called Start Smart. It's going very, very well. The children all had an introductory 3 weeks and have just started into that core instruction now with new materials. The teachers and students are loving the new stories in the reading series. We've had 2 fire drills and a bus evacuation at Northside. We did all of our hearing screenings are complete. Through our hybrid learning grant, we had a coach come in and go classroom to classroom in 1st and 2nd grade, really helping us to get our station rotations going, set up and going. Real excited about using the new Chromebooks, so lots of new things at Northside. We are starting to gear up for our Veterans Day program, and we collect all kinds of items for our veterans, and we do care packages for those. So if your Northsiders are coming home asking for shampoo and deodorant and shaving cream, those are all for the veterans. We have a fire safety assembly coming up where our fire department comes in and they teach the children about the importance of changing the batteries and the smoke detectors and how to get down low and all of the important things. And they model themselves in their gear, which can be very scary for young children. And they talk to them about they're the good guys and they're the help, and they're not scary, they're helpful. We're going to be doing our face-to-face conferences here at Northside, starting with 2nd grade first. So if you're a 2nd grade parent, in October you'll be notified and you'll get a full half-hour sit down with your teacher to talk about your student, your child. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions to the board?
Yeah, just a comment, if it's all right, Mr. Mancini. Again, thank you guys for the effort that was put into the suicide prevention and the work that I know that's going on. I've heard from teachers in the schools that they're trained now to be aware of potential problems if they're starting to see a student that might benefit, and then it's time for Ms. Cleghorn and her people to get involved. We've got to try and prevent any tragedy like that in our schools. And the work that was done in developing the program that the schools are now using was done by the teachers and the administrators and the psychology staff. Believe me, if you get a chance to ask, they'll let you certainly read it, or they'll certainly talk to you about it. It was very extensive and it's very, very proper. And I have high hopes it's going to prevent such a tragedy in our schools. That's all.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Go to the visitors. Allow me to introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I am Leroy Cortez, Vice President of the School Board. I'm filling in for the President, Mr. Michael Power, who had a business situation and required his attention. All the people who are here for the Little Wolverines, do you have a spokesman who would like to address the board?
That would be me.
Yes.
Hi.
Would you identify yourself? and-
Sure. My name is Kelly Nardone. I'm Secretary of the Board for ECLW. I did prepare some of our comments and concerns in writing, so we can pass those around. I
Feel
will
free
identify.
to
Pardon me?
You can feel free to.
Oh, okay, go for it, Rich, thanks. If at any time you would like to stop me, feel free. I can try to answer questions that you have for me to the best of my ability, and then we have some questions for you as well. So as a representative of ECLW Little Wolverines, I would like to address several concerns we've encountered during the season with the hope of finding resolution and working collaboratively with you to help foster not only our relationships, but also growth within the athletic arena for youth football and cheerleading. This past weekend resulted in a tremendous loss to ECLW organization, both financially and personally, for coaches, players, cheerleaders, and families of the youth involved within the program. ECLW initially requested the use of the field Saturday, October 3rd, 2015, per required protocol. After researching via social media, Powder Puff learned of our request and sought permission to override our request, to which they were granted. Although the ECLW organization was disappointed, we accepted that, although this was unfair, we had enough time to rearrange our plans and to hold our last home game, our senior night, on Sunday afternoon, October 4th, 2015. On the afternoon of October 3rd, 2015, the president of the ECLW was contacted by Darren Morella to inquire about the use of the field for the following week regarding Powder Puff rescheduling due to rain. As always, the president of ECLW was accommodating and pleasant, indicating he would work around whatever Powder Puff would need regarding the use of the field. At no time did Mr. Morella indicate that he would be denying ECLW access to the field on the following day. Shortly thereafter, the president of the Beaver County Youth Football League contacted the president of ECLW to notify him that Mr. Morella had contacted him and informed him that ECLW was not permitted to play at Helen Stadium the following afternoon. After multiple phone calls with Mr. Morella and attempts to reach Mr. Lake, Mr. Morella determined ECLW could not play on the field. This decision was given less than 24 hours prior to the previously scheduled games. In an effort to better understand the structure of the athletic department, we are requesting clarification on the following. Who should be our contact? And please provide the contact information for the individual or individuals as well. What is the difference between the roles of the athletic director and the head of athletics? We are aware of the custodial fee we're expected to pay when using the field. However, we are unaware of the role of the custodian. We have called upon this individual during games and he did not respond. For instance, during the August 29th, 2015 game, when the sprinklers began to spray in the middle of the game, the custodian was called upon multiple times that day, but did not arrive until he was reached via cell phone. He arrived on site approximately 20 minutes later. Should the custodian be on site, and if not, are we expected to pay the fee during the time he is not present? What is the expectation for cleaning? The expectation has been unclear, and based on who is asked, the answer is different. As a recommendation, perhaps field agreements should spell out the answers to the questions we have identified. As you are aware, home games are not only have costs associated, but they are also generating revenue through concessions and 50-50 contributions. The Board of ECLW has estimated a loss of $4,810 due to relocation of this game. Based on historic revenue, concessions would have generated approximately $3,400. We are hopeful that the majority of supplies purchased the day before will be refunded, but some items have already been opened and prepared, which contributes to the loss. The 50-50 historically generates approximately $300. Participants' family members were scheduled to volunteer their time that will now result in reimbursing the volunteers approximately $750 in work requirement fees due to the opportunity no longer being an option for them, or in some cases, they were not available to attend the game at all due to the location and time changes. We had already paid a non-refundable ambulance fee in the amount of $360. We would like you to consider reimbursing the ECLW organization the funds lost due to the unwarranted decision to cancel this game. As I previously stated, the financial loss was not the only one felt by this organization. The youth were unable to play and cheer their last game on their home field. Many youth were not able to celebrate this day with family and friends that were intending to participate in the event due to the location and time changes. The photographer nearly missed the event due to the last-minute changes. The atmosphere was not a true senior night for our youth, as it was done in the middle of a Sunday afternoon with few Ellwood fans and hearts filled with disgust for the decision made by the athletic department. Although we are fully aware we are in no way affiliated with Lincoln High School, we would like to be collaborative partners with you. We would like for you to respect the youth and families participating within ECLW. Working together will not only build great future teams, but it will build a better community. One of our core goals is to prepare our youth to enter the high school programs with a solid foundation of fundamentals, respect, and work ethic. ECLW would like to better understand the affiliation the junior high football team currently has with Lincoln High School. Are they considered to be part of Lincoln High School? How are the boosters managed? Who holds the insurance for this team? And how do they gain field access? We ask these questions not to create conflict, but to understand and potentially gain the same relationship with youth that the junior high team has been able to establish. Thank you for taking the time to entertain the questions we have presented. I have bolded all areas to which we would like a response for your convenience. We look forward to the positive changes of our open communication will create to allow us to better serve the youth of Ellwood City.
Thank you. If I could, if I understand in communication you gave me, the bold highlighted ones of what you're looking for contact for.
Correct.
If I could, on several of the items, as far as clarification as to roles, as to what is the relationship, about the custodian and who should you contact, so forth, I can tell you, the contact for the Little Wolf, anyone who uses our facility should first be the athletic director, that is Mr. Darren Morella. And in several of your questions that you are asking, the answer I can give you is we can give us some time as a board to get together and come up with a way of contacting your representative to get clarification on these. So there is a clear line of communication between the board and the Little Wolverines. As far as the decision with the field is concerned, none of us can control the weather. Several years ago, we had a similar situation where we went ahead and played games and we did damage to our field that was made it unsafe and difficult to recover, which the following spring, we had to put money in to get it back into shape. We've been fortunate the past couple of falls that we haven't had a lot of rain at the town. However, over the weekend, we did. It's unfortunate that the Little Wolverine organization went through this situation over the weekend. However, I see no way that that decision could have been averted or been done sooner, simply because the decision was made, I believe, sometime on Saturday after watching the JV play in the rainstorm, and it was determined that the field, playing any more games on that field that day or the next day would have damaged the field.
So is it an answer of safety or is it an answer of damage to the field?
Well, it would be both. That's why the Powder Puff game was canceled for that night.
So do our boys in the high school not play when it rains in western Pennsylvania? I'm having a hard time understanding that, considering
Well,
where we are.
Just a few weeks ago, on Friday night, everybody was there. Quaker Valley paid for transportation for their school and their band to come up, and they went home that night and no one played a game because of the weather. And the point I'm telling you.
Was it
Lightning,
like-
that's because of
rain?
lightning, that's why, not because of rain.
So,
So truly though, on Sunday, it was not raining, and there were youth football teams playing all throughout the weekend, all throughout the county. So I have a hard time taking that as an answer, and certainly it's your field, you have the right to do that.
No, it's our field, we're the taxpayers.
Hey, we're taxpayers too, so let's not go into that,
if
okay?
you could, please direct your questions to me and I'll try to answer them for you, and if anyone else has a question, you want to be recognized, I will do that. Please do it in order. And again, I will tell you, that's what the decision was made, to protect our facilities. And again, yeah, you are all taxpayers. There's several thousand taxpayers in the Ellwood City School District. And all of you expect us to take care of our facilities. We do have limited facilities here. And I say this to people all the time, and I understand you don't have all the information to know school board budgets and so forth. We don't have the option of putting extra money into our fields every year. And that was part of the decision. It was made through the athletic director. One of the questions you had, that's your contact. He contacted through the WPIAL standards. The head of every athletic department is the principal. Mr. Morella did contact Mr. Latham and informed him. Those were the decisions. The board backs the decisions of their athletic department. Mr. Mancini, the superintendent, was also aware of it. Everyone was aware of the decision. I can apologize for the inconvenience, but we cannot control the weather. You may not like the idea that we made that decision, but that happened that way. We can't be held responsible for what other places do. Because our responsibility is here for this, for our facilities here, and our responsibility is to be wise stewards of the money that all the taxpayers. And I said, I told you earlier, we will contact you about the continuing relationship. Some of the things you brought, I think it's the first time you brought to the attention of the board, and just so you understand, we weren't quite aware of some of these things, communication, and the board desires to have an open line of communication with the Little Wolverines, to have a very good working relationship. And we do want to continue, you're using the facilities. However, I'm aware that I don't think there's any answer I can give you to make up for what happened over the weekend.
So is there a way that we would be able to forecast a change in game or access to the schedule based on the weather for future games?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I guess we could say, we could try, but, forecasting weather,
I mean, if
Yeah.
it is planning on raining on all day Saturday or Sunday or Friday typically because our games are on
forecasting, it
Saturday.
doesn't mean it's always gonna rain that day.
Right, but we did not get the notification, the final notification until 5 o'clock on Saturday evening for a game that was supposed to be Sunday and we were supposed to be there at 11. Which of course, this was a much different game than we typically had because there were a lot of other special accommodations, recognizing the seniors of the group, doing those other things, which made it that much worse because we had those, additional things that needed to be done. So it would have been nice and helpful if those things would have been communicated to us earlier in the day.
I think that we can use this experience, as I said, to build a more open line of communications, make that decision a lot sooner.
We would appreciate that.
We would like to do that. And again, I said, speaking for the board, we apologize for what happened over the weekend. It certainly wasn't our intention, but we understood the situation and had to make a decision. You may not like to hear this, but this board meets over the past year, every month we meet. We make very difficult financial decisions that have negative consequences on the people we are serving. And it's not, that's what we're trying to do. That's not our intention.
So
It certainly wasn't the intention to put this burden on the Little Wolverines. Yes, Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, I'm the president of the Ellwood City Wolverines. As of last year, when we were in a meeting, we were, I guess you could say, asked to drop our 7th, 8th graders, our midget program, to help out with the junior high numbers. Fought with the league that we were in to get it done, got it approved, passed, and then the league ended up breaking apart. So we make our change back to the Beaver County League, where we're allowed to participate without our midget team, as you guys requested. The following year, this is the treatment we get. I mean, canceling a game on our senior night, the most important thing. We're doing everything in our power to try and work with you guys. It was notified about the cleanup. That day we started doing the cleanups, everything, trying to comply with what you guys want. It's really difficult whenever you guys aren't giving anything back to this youth program. It is.
Mr. Dupower. Dupower is here. We understand the situation, you talked about, and we appreciate that. And as I said, we will do what we can to increase communications. And I guess I had to differ over the years through other things we've done. I think the school district has supported the Little Wolverines. Now, we can have a difference of opinion, I understand that. Any other questions or comments?
What happens if none of the other teams let us use their field? We forfeit. And that's okay with the school?
Well, actually, you did have the option to use our practice field on Sunday.
Time out, I'd like a statement on that.
Well, that's, then bringing up my next point, you brought up safety in the field, and, you know, obviously, we all know the fences in that practice field.
Is a half yard.
I wouldn't want my son playing there with the risk, because, you know, this age, twerps, I'm the head coach for twerps. They run
What do you
outside,
mean?
straight for the fence. Doug Hogue. I would be concerned with that, the safety there as well. So that was the main reason we didn't want to play at that field. But on the same hand, Ellwood's field was in a lot better condition than Central Valley, and basically we had to go play in the Soup Bowl on Sunday on our senior night. And as Kelly mentioned, the field looked horrible. It was made for horrible pictures, and it was just disappointing. I mean, I see both sides of the story.
And I understand that, I said.
Yeah. So what would the resolution be? No, say Central Valley doesn't let us play there. We don't have a field to play.
Well, fortunately, that didn't happen, so, I mean, you're asking a hypothetical question.
Yes, yeah, oh yeah.
We
I knew that going in.
We could have, you know, we would have done what we could. Could we have possibly have done it and made it a two-night affair on a Monday or Tuesday night? I mean, we would work and try and find a solution.
As for the
But the idea is that it wasn't the ideal thing, but our athletic director was the one who did contact to try to find another facility.
Okay.
Mr. O'Brien?
The options that we're giving was to play the games throughout the week, which was enough even to play 3 games, having kids at kindergarten through 6th grade leave school early to fit them all in on night. The other option of the practice field is we couldn't. First of all, the league would not let us play because there's not a functioning school board on that practice field, so it's not an option. So I don't know what options you were told we were given, but we were not given any options.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
How can we expect to get the answers that have been outlined in here?
As I said earlier, we will, as a board, we will discuss this, and we will talk with the athletic department, and you will be given, Mr. O'Brien will be given a contact, and we'll get the issues resolved. Yes?
Why don't you ask the kids how they feel about what happened to them? These are your future football players in Ellwood City. If Ellwood City would have had a game Friday night and it was pouring down rain, would you have canceled their game? No. No. Not the high school, you would not have. These kids right here are your future football players, Mr. Morella. Ask these kids how they feel about what happened to them, because those are your seniors sitting there that were disrespected Sunday. My grandson wouldn't even come here because he was so upset because what happened. That's a shame for these kids to be treated there at practice 4 and 5 nights a week, busting their rear ends, and go out there and play their hearts out, just like the high school. And then to be disrespected like that, that's a shame. They are the ones you should be apologizing to, not us parents sitting here.
Young man, yeah, could you state your name, please?
Donovan,
Thank you.
I am very upset that we didn't get to play on our home field because it was our senior night and it's our time to shine. Like, why couldn't we have our time to shine? And the entire team thinks that, not just me. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time. I would like to thank everyone. Yes.
I just have one more question. I don't know if this was addressed because I was late getting here. And my name is Randy Wilson. I'm a coach for the Mighty Mites. didn't any other school districts cancel their fields with the grass fields? I mean, it was all over Beaver County, right? Did anybody else cancel?
I don't know that answer. I can tell you earlier in the week, I was in Ocean City, Maryland, and most of the high school football games that were scheduled for Friday night were either played on Thursday or they were canceled.
You're talking about Ocean City, Maryland, though. They got,
Baltimore area.
yeah, they got 10 inches of rain, though.
I watched Clemson beat Notre Dame on Saturday in that hurricane rain. And rescheduled.
I mean, I looked around at a few different ones. I haven't found any yet, so if you
I
said.
understand that, and again, as I said, the decision was made, the board backed the decision of our athletic department. It's unfortunate, I apologize to the players. I can tell you, if you continue, when you are in high school, you will be playing on that field on Friday night.
And another thing, why doesn't anybody support these kids? I'm at every football game these kids play. Their uniforms say Ellwood City Wolverines. I never see a face there from the school or anybody. But I bet you're all at the Ellwood City High School games. You can be there all the time.
Used to be.
That's right.
Used to be on the board of the little.
You
Wolverines
announced
when they
all
were
the
called
games
back.
too. You announced the high school games. But this is the future, and nobody is there to support these kids. Nobody. It's a shame.
We are. We're the
Yes,
to
the
support
parents,
them.
I'm a grandparent.
But that's why we want to collaborate with you, so that we can give you the bridge to do so. We just hope that us extending this will allow you to accept that, even if it hasn't been done in past, or if you feel that you have, and we're not feeling it on our end.
Well, I'm sorry that you don't feel that way, but we will correct that.
That's all we can ask.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to our business portion of our committee meeting. You're all welcome to stay. I thank you for coming. I appreciate your comments. Sorry I couldn't give you the answers you wanted to hear. But hopefully we can get this worked out to prevent this from happening again. Revenue and Finance, Mr. Mancini.
Our regular monthly report will be presented on
Oh, hang on.
Thank you.
regular monthly reports for September will be presented on Thursday evening. I've also placed at your spot the a la carte pricing for the cafeteria. Traditionally, we get the adult prices and regular meal prices approved. The Department of Ed has suggested that we go forward with the a la carte pricing for board consideration. So again, I placed them at your spot. They'll be presented on Thursday for your consideration. And that's it on the revenue and finance for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Zarone. Personnel is an executive session. And we go to properties and transportation.
There's a change order that was rather lengthy there. If you had a chance to read it, if you have any questions, Mr. Jerome or Mr. Schuster, comment on that also.
The actual change order that's going to be submitted on Thursday at this point is really the first quarter. And what it basically was, and Steve, maybe you can help me, you have an air handler unit that needs fed with 480 volt power. And when they went to the box that was in that air handler room, I believe it was 240 or 208 volt power. So that was unexpected, so they had to transition to the greater voltage to get that air handler up and running. So that's what the change order is for. It's a total of $887. The second couple that I mentioned, they've not been presented at this point, so we'll hold off on those and consider those until November.
Thank you.
The special event detail agreement, we Being in touch with Borough Manager Bob Malella has informed the district that the Ellwood City Borough Council has agreed to extend the agreement between council and the district for Ellwood City Police Wage and Policy Division to June 30th, 2016. An addendum for board consideration will be submitted on Thursday.
Did you, get a letter like this from Borough Manager Valella? It was in my communicated packet.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I remember seeing this piece though.
It looks like historical,
I got this.
Okay.
Is it an extension
of
the current contract? Right. To June 30th, so we'll probably have to set up some type of meeting with, after the, June 30th.
Mr. Zarone, you've been out longer. In the fact, we've worked with council before on our contract with the police department.
We've actually worked directly with the police.
Yeah, we're going through the police union.
Right.
Yeah.
Specifically says we negotiate the rate.
Okay. So, yeah, we actually do that with the police department. And
Any idea why Mr. Valella is stepping in then?
I have no idea. I'm not an expert, but I believe the state borough code puts the police department under the management of the mayor.
That's correct. City council has the right to hire and fire and set the hours of work and the rate of pay, but they don't have anything like this. We don't directly with the police department.
Anyway, I'm sure we've worked with the police department before through their representatives, and we have a very good working relationship with Ellwood City's finest. Sure we can come to an agreement on that. Mayor Sandy?
Transportation costs, estimated transportation costs with Ellwood City Transit will be submitted for board consideration at the regular meeting. We have some facility requests. Robert Bishop from Alumni Football USA requests use of Helling Stadium for the 6th annual alumni game, Friday, November 6th, 2015, from 4 to 10 p.m. with alternate dates of Saturday, November 7th or Sunday, November 8th, 2015. Mrs. Betty Bainey DeLoya, Chairman of the EC Parade Committee, is requesting use of the LHS parking lot for the annual Halloween Parade from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, October 24th, for the annual Christmas Parade from 1 to 4 on Saturday, December 12th, 2015. Mrs. Melissa Pigza, senior class sponsor, is requesting use of Helling Stadium to have a senior class Powder Puff game versus Mohawk senior class on Saturday, October 24th, 2015 at 6 p.m. Proceeds will be split between Lincoln and Mohawk senior classes, with a donation being made to breast cancer awareness. Mr. Morella has been kind of organizing this. If anybody has any questions or about that.
Is this the first time they've done that?
Yes.
That's a very nice idea.
Student Affairs, social event request enclosed. Miss Felicia Greco, LHS Choral Director, requests a nurse accompany the concert choir on a previously approved Disney trip for a student who is diabetic and students with other health issues. She requests that the nurse be paid a daily stipend of $85 and the cost of her trip $728.
Question about that. Why, I mean, is that something that the district should be paying for? I mean, this is first of all, it's not it's a, what do you wanna call it?
Social event?
A social event.
So if a student goes who is, she doesn't know the student list who's going until after it's been approved. So once that list,
John, are we required as the district to send them? I mean, to me, it's like, I understand diabetes, but shouldn't that be the responsibility of the parent to come with them if they're worried about them?
I think we
Or-
should discuss it in executive because it's student affairs, so we can discuss the individual
Okay.
health needs, plus it's personal.
Okay.
Would that nurse be one of our nurses or?
no. PA Youth Survey Agreement. The administration is requesting authorization to participate in the 15-16 PA Youth Survey. We've done this in the past. The survey is being offered to all districts and schools in the Commonwealth of PA at no cost. It is administered every other year to youth in grades 6, 8, 10, and 12 and collects information on youth's knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors around alcohol, tobacco, drug usage, violence, and other problem issues. Survey results are shared with the district. It can be used to assist in prevention, planning, grant writing, reporting, and the accreditation process. So we've done this before. You get a pretty nice report on overall attitudes and so on towards those social issues that affect youth. And the informational, is that the IU4 is looking for a board member. If anybody would like to become a Midwestern IU4 board member, please let me know, and you'll put your name in the nomination process.
I got a question for the rest of the board on under facility requests, Mr. Bishop and the alumni football. We may want to consider the weather conditions at that time. That's, I'm very optimistic. Our high school football team may still be active then. We certainly don't want to give them permission to use the field and damage it in any way. Or possibly we can, if they want to play that night, that they could agree to repair it and recover those costs. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
from the board?
didn't we deny them use here about 2 or 4 years ago because of that?
I think we did. We did, yeah.
It was because of that reason.
Yeah, for that reason. I think that may have been that 1 year where it wasn't in really bad shape too. Any other questions or comments here? Before we go to executive session, or any other, Mr. O'Brien, any other questions?
Yeah, I offered to repair and help fix any damage that we did to the field. And I was told no. I said I would get our parents, our players to come down, because it was 2 weeks before the game, and I was told not to, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to know that.
I have a quick question about the Alcor pricing.
Yes.
The lunches come with a drink?
They come.
Do lunches come with like milk? Okay, so if they want an extra milk, it's gonna cost an extra 40 cents. All right, I'm just making sure. I don't want charging for lunch and a drink.
Yeah.
Drink something.
Is there a set increase, is it like 10% or are they different on each one?
Different on each one.
Because there's not showing what it was versus what it's going to. None of the
These aren't increases, these are just prices that were set, that because we're getting ready for a cafeteria audit, I want to make sure that we're in compliance with everything. They would like to see these approved by the board, so that's why.
So these are the prices that are being charged right now?
Yes.
So they had already set the price at
Yes.
the beginning of the year? Okay, thank you, I didn't get that. I did have a couple of things that I wanted to bring back up that we've talked about in the past, so that everybody has a little bit of a chance to think about it. I was, speaking with, one of the secretaries at State Farm, and she brought back up driver's training. And I know it's something that we used to offer, and I think I asked about it before. Any chance of bringing it back? I guess there's a real need for it. Getting these kids learning to drive by somebody who actually has the capability of teaching them now that there's more stringent rules about driving the 6 months and having to log all these hours and so on and so forth. Is there any chance that we'll be able to re-implement? I guess it's something that.
Cost.
That was a program that was dropped in our 2011 budget. When we got hit with the state education reduction in the state education amount that they were giving us for basic education. That was one of the things that we dropped back then. There were a whole list of items that were part of streamlining. That's the only reason it was dropped.
Does anybody remember, or maybe somebody could give me a figure, what it would cost to be able to bring it back? Is it something that, I don't know if the board is even interested in doing it, but like I said, I've had
several different insurance agents that I know asked me about it, and I said I would bring it up and, you know, let the board stew on it, think on it, see where we stand on it.
We're gonna look at the cost. I wonder if any of those local agents would be willing to help finance it. The only reason I say that is there's always people that think there's another thing you should, and I understand there's a need for it, but
Well, the kids get discounts
Yeah.
if they have that driver's training, so it's just, without somebody to teach them, there's
Like you
no
figure-
discounts.
You figure it's gonna cost you a teacher, that's one. You're gonna have to get a vehicle. You're gonna have to pay for your insurance on that vehicle. Plus operating costs, I mean, we're not talking cheap prices here. Before, I think our vehicle was donated. But I don't think Matt Wayne or Napleton or anybody's gonna donate you a vehicle.
all has it been since we've had it? 2011.
Look at the classroom part. You still have the classroom, just offer behind the wheel. So if the parent wants to do it, they can, you know, it's on them to finance and find somebody that does that, and they can still get the discount. We offer the necessary classroom.
Yeah, the classroom one.
Right. Is it possible that we could offer it if we have the kids, and I'm just thinking because Mr. Lake brought that up and brought that to my attention, that we could offer it and maybe there'd be a fee involved? I mean, there are some kids, I guess this is what it comes down to, that they don't have a responsible parent to teach them. I know it's maybe not our responsibility, but, I mean, if it is something that we could do, find a way to get it back out there, it would be nice.
It wasn't just a random decision at that time. That was a painful one to make.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but I understand. Yeah, we can look at different ways to be creative about it. But yeah,
Cost.
Yeah. But that's the basic reason.
The mackerel.
Anything else, Mrs. Petrella?
Well, just going back to those other couple things that we had talked about for the kids' business week, I don't know whether anything has been really discussed because you brought it up and then things tend to kind of disappear. And that law week, or law practice thing, I don't know whether that ever got off the ground, because that was something that was happening this fall. I think Mrs. Walters had said, I don't even know if she had agreed to doing it, the one that Mr. Garvin had been here at the meeting about.
Mr. Deloya has been given the information for Law Week,
Okay,
so,
so
is
that's,
he running it as a, so.
Give her name to him.
okay, so then they are moving ahead with it? Well, that's wonderful. I didn't know, because we didn't talk about it.
Business Week, again, that's a cost, $15,000 cost. Kids used to go out and try to raise money, but we never raised nearly the full amount. We don't, we get a teacher sponsor it, I think we paid that teacher to also get all the business organizations, there's a lot of outside work that we had to pay somebody to go do, so that was another one that, because of cost.
But that's something that's kind of like, something more hands-on, and, you know, I wish Jen was here tonight because she, or Ms. Grossman, because she had said how much her daughters got out of it. So when you have something like that that's hands-on, it gets that other side, and it gets those kids involved that they don't normally, it's just not something, I think, the money, we need to find a way to get it. If that's something that the kids all really enjoy to do, so, I mean, I'd be willing to work with whoever to go raise some funds, and we can find some money in our budget. If it really is that worthwhile, the thing, I hate to see it go by. That's all I have.
Mr. Vazali, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Schuster. We discussed the lighting down at the track. Did you ever?
I think it's working. I haven't heard any.
Okay.
I've been to Barry's twice, and
Okay.
nobody said anything to me.
No questions?
Nobody
Okay.
said a word.
That must be that. Thanks.
Yep.
Anybody?
All money is due by November 1st.
You guys do stuff I don't like anyway. But anyway, you let me find this.
Anything else? Go ahead.
There was something in your email that came out about the clearances, the 3 years versus the 5 years. Mr. McCarroll was showing me in the laws was changed to 5. Are we going to mirror what the state requires?
That's the question that came up. The law is requiring everybody to get clearances this year if they were up and due. It was gonna be every 3 years, but they changed it after this year to every 5. So once everybody gets settled in after this year, they switched to 5 on us, and a lot of other schools changed their policies to 3 to match it, and now they've changed to 5. So you're allowed to have more strict procedures, like we require, fingerprinting, for volunteers, where, we can make it more strict and more demanding. It's up to the board, I guess, to change that policy back if they would like to go back to 5 years to match the state requirement, or keep it at 3 and have more. So,
How many people are implicated with getting the background check?
everybody who, you mean for us?
Well, I mean, this came to my attention because of a coach.
Right.
So, I mean.
If that coach, if anybody's due this year, they have to get them, so.
Right. But how
this-
many folks are we talking about that are having to get that?
Depends on when they got their clearances previously. We have a whole huge spreadsheet of every employee, every coach that my secretaries keep track of. So, there's some that, some people fall in where they're due now, like, they may have gotten them 3 years ago in October, so they're due now for them. So, there's other people like me, I haven't had clearances since I first got hired, so I had to go get all new clearances and pay for myself. So mine are now refreshed for, so pretty much almost every employee, if their clearances weren't within the last 3 years, they've had to get them. So, they maybe have to get them next year, the following year, but they've gotta get them, and then they're good for 5 after that, so.
And how much does that cost someone?
Change the prices, I think it's 27 for fingerprinting FBI,
The other two are free.
10, well, for volunteers.
Right.
Yeah, for volunteers. And you can't work under a volunteer and be an employee, so they've gotta make sure I think they're like $10 for the other two, so actually like $47 total.
Which ones are changing to 5 years? Is that all 3?
Yeah, the requirement, after you get them this year,
So
it's
you have
changing
5
5 years instead
For
of
all-
3.
So all 3 of them are good for 5
Right.
years, not just one or the other?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that would be, that's a drag.
Change the policy and state change.
That's the question, that's why I put that in the email that
Yeah.
started to come up, so.
So when you say after this year, is that this calendar year?
Yes, December 31st is when everybody
We
had
don't
to.
need to make any action.
No. We could put together, I've talked to the people at the IU, and they're in the same boat. They did the exact same thing we did. They went to 3 years, and she was like, we've got to look at our policy too now, so.
Good.
If, the board wants to change it to 5.
I think didn't the state also change though that the FBI fingerprinting, if you live in the state for 10 years, you don't need it?
Right.
That becomes redundant, so we're gonna look at changing it. I mean, that really hurts the PTO, and maybe the coaches too. It's a lot of money for some people, and it seriously costs, some people won't pay the money to become a volunteer, which then hurts the younger ones. I mean, I know that there's not as much participation in high school, if there's any, but it might be something else we wanna reconsider. But I would agree with changing the policy, 5 years, to mirror what the state is.
Any other questions? Before we break to go to executive session and go back to the visitors. Mr. Cunningham?
I had a question. Is the whole board involved with the negotiations with the teachers, or are there certain members of the board?
There is a negotiating committee. It consists of Mr. Bizzelli, Mrs. Petrelli, Mr. Newpower, and myself.
So I suppose, are you at liberty to say Are you gonna try to get this done before the end of the year, or are you gonna let the new members of the board
We've been
deal
trying
with
to
it?
get it done since.
You've been
we
trying
started
very hard.
negotiations.
I mean, personally.
And our intention is to try and get a deal.
Personally, you know, for the board members that are leaving, they get to vote on a budget that the new people have to come in and deal with, and maybe if new board members were aware of what it takes to negotiate and the figures of the budget, they would understand a little more than normal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the board? Yeah, Mr. Thomas.
The sign out in front of Perry School, I know it had been vandalized a few times, and it's just basically looks terrible. I drive past there 100 times a day, and it'll take a couple hours. You just gotta sand it, stain it, and get some white paint to fill the letters back in. It's not a big deal. So I was just, that's the first and only thing that you see from the road. You don't even see the school, you see the sign, and it looks terrible. So I was just hoping that that's on someone's radar. It's really not a big, huge job, but it's just, yeah, it looks terrible.
I'm sure Mr. Schuster's aware of that, and
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't, but it will be fixed this week.
Thank you very much.
We pass it twice a day.
And
so we'll
I
check.
don't, that's why.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
check.
That's why we fixed
We'll hold
this
you
week.
to it.
When did that happen? I just noticed it over the weekend
A
when I
long time
drove
ago.
past.
Months ago.
thank you. This time, the board will end our session. We will reconvene for an executive session. Thank everybody who attended. Please come back.
Thank you for entertaining us.
You want this off?